A masked gunman who was identified by the victim of a shooting because the way he pronounced his Rs as Ws has been jailed for 25 years. Perry Wilson, 24, shouted Rico before opening fire at Rico Rodriguez outside a birthday party in Hammersmith, West London. Mr. Rodriguez survived thanks to the battlefield training of another guest, Private Jerome Joseph of the Princess of Wales Regiment, who stopped the bleeding. The 24-year-old later recovered from his wounds and gave evidence at the Old Bailey that he recognized Wilson's voice before he was shot. Perry Wilson, 24, shouted Rico before opening fire at Rico Rodriguez outside a birthday party in Hammersmith, West London, the Old Bailey, pictured, heard. Wilson was convicted of attempted murder and possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life following a trial at the Old Bailey. Sentencing Wilson, Judge Cook said, "This is a serious offense which involved a shooting that took place at a party. I am satisfied that it was motivated by temper, anger and a desire for revenge against Rico Rodriguez." Fortunately, Rico Rodriguez did not die, and it is significant he had recovered sufficiently to give evidence. "I assess Perry Wilson as dangerous, and it will be very many years before he can be released into the community." Praising the actions of Private Jerome Joseph, Judge Nicholas Cook told the Old Bailey, "He deserves a lot of credit. I would like to commend both the bravery and the expert judgment in terms of preserving his own life and the life of Rico Rodriguez. It was his battlefield experience that meant that Rico Rodriguez did not sustain such a loss of blood and die before surgical intervention might be available." Wilson will serve at least 16 years and 8 months in custody before being considered for parole and will spend an extra 5 years on license as part of the extended sentence. The court heard Private Joseph, who is currently stationed in Germany, and Rico Rodriguez were both guests at a birthday party at a house in Albion Mews in Hammersmith, West London, on the 15th of April this year. At around 11 p.m. Jerome Joseph left the back garden to say goodbye to other guests and smoke a cigarette when he saw Wilson pointing a gun at him from around 10 meters away. Wilson, who was wearing a hoodie and a scarf over his lower face, said "Wagwa Rico," street slang for "what's going on Rico." Prosecutor Paul Cavey said, "The words obviously imply that the gunman had mistook Mr. Joseph for Rico Rodriguez." Mr. Joseph laughed nervously, thinking that this must be some kind of joke. He turned away in order to head back into the garden when he heard a shot. He turned back to see the gunman advancing towards him with the gun in a firing position. Mr. Joseph heard 3 more shots as he ran into the garden where other guests were crouching down in terror. The owner of the house, Christine Woolley, then shouted for everyone to get inside and closed the back door. When Mr. Joseph went to the front door, he found Rico Rodriguez lying unconscious on the floor with entry and exit wounds to his torso. Mr. Rodriguez initially refused to name the gunman who had shot him at close range, but later admitted it was Perry Wilson, who he had known since year 7 at school.